Hi guys, do you ever go out and take some photos and when you look at them you are horrible to yourself about the results? Yeah, that was me after this shoot. I'd had the D5 about 2 days, hadn't really even got it out the box much, the strap wasn't even on, and then there was this fox, right, playing with these cows, and I just grabbed the camera and my 400mm lens. The closer up ones are much better, as you can see. Those ones will all be shared at the end. Do any of you remember those children's books where you have to spot the mouse on each page? This is like that, but it's like spot the fox. But yeah, I wanted to capture this fox. It was in motion and it was running really fast. And I wasn't familiar with any of the settings on the camera, like focus wise, and but I was just so excited. I was so excited. And I've really been trying to analyse these photos in terms of why I'm not happy with them. And I just want to share my thoughts today. So, I like this one. As I say, the ones where there was no action involved were fine. But firstly, I'm not trying to make excuses for bad photography, because this is bad photography, like a lot of these shots are terrible. But that 400mm lens I've got isn't awfully sharp at 400mm. Or I don't know what it is. It's tricky to pinpoint a very small object, if that makes sense, with a lens. So as you can see here, it just felt like such a great opportunity, and I felt like I kind of messed it up. Do you know what I mean? But I think there's many aspects. Partly the lens. I've always known that lens could be sharper, or 600mm really sharp lens would be even better, I think, in this scenario. But also, even a 600mm lens, I don't know, it would still be tricky because the fox is almost camouflaged on this coloured grass. I love this one. Look, it's like, oh, they're up to no good, so I'll just sneak past. Yeah, so the fox is camouflaged in the grass. And then where the grass is in focus, where the fox is in focus, if that makes sense, you kind of just lose the fox in the scenario. The other thing I think is a factor is compositionally, with the action going on, it was actually quite tricky to get like a nice composition, right? So you've got a few aspects that make these photos not very pleasing, and the position that I could get in where the fox couldn't hear or see me was so far away and sort of a certain height up, because if I go any lower then I'm losing the fox behind the grass. Do you see what I mean? But this composition for me just seems so boring because it's just all grass. So yeah, I'm really trying to pinpoint why I'm not happy, but I think mainly it is just the sharpness. Look, like I've got movement blur, I've got, they're kind of, they're just noisy, and yeah, quality wise, they're just not there, are they? It's just such a shame. But that was a massive part of it, was me not getting to grips with the settings on the camera. I think partly I was just so excited to see this fox that I really didn't focus on the camera and concentrate on what I needed to do to get a sharp image. Do you know what I mean? I was just so excited. And I think that that's part of the reason that I'm not happy with them, because the images don't live up to the excitement of the experience. Do you ever get that? Where you've had this experience taking these photos. By the way, if I was really finishing these off, I would take that fence line out of a lot of these images, but I didn't do that. But yeah, you've had this experience taking these photos, and the experience absolutely just filled your heart with joy. And then when you come to the photos, they just don't do the experience justice. And I think that is a big part of disappointment when you're looking at your photos. I think technically these photos are not there at all, but I think because the actual experience was so exciting, then when you look at the pictures, it's like, oh, I think this was probably my favourite, and I really tried to get it sharp enough to, in Lightroom, to just have the energy of what was going on. Because it really was such a moment when this cow was chasing the fox. It was just amazing. I'm going to have a look at my settings here, guys. Hold on. Yeah, I thought it was my shutter speed letting me down, just looking at them. I don't know what I was on. I must have just chucked it on P, right? And I don't ever usually do this. I should have just put it on shutter priority. But if you can imagine, these cows are chasing the fox, and I'm thinking it's going to run away any minute, so I might only have a few seconds, so I'll just put it on P and see what I get. But I probably should have paid a little bit more of attention. And in a calmer situation, I would have. Arc at me trying to justify my actions. It's so funny, isn't it? But no, I should not have been on a 350th of a second. That's what my shutter speed was. That's terrible. Mind you, right? So let's look at ISO. Where's ISO on here? I'm at 400 mil, so I'm zoomed right in. F9.5. Right, what I was going to say was, when I said mind you, was what was in my mind, I remember thinking, is that I almost needed a balance between the shutter speed and the aperture in this scenario, because the cow was always falling behind or in front of the fox. Do you see what I mean? And I remember thinking, the shutter speed, and I don't know whether I acted on this or not, I can't remember now. The shutter speed needs to be fast enough to capture the action sharply, but I still need a wide enough aperture to get both the fox and the cow in focus. Do you see what I mean? Because when you're zoomed in at 400 mil, it naturally gives you a shallow depth of field. And I was vaguely aware of this in my mind. Obviously as well though, where you've got a wider depth of field, you're getting all the grass in focus, which just takes the emphasis off the action of the animals. Do you see what I mean? I can't see my ISO here, because I could have increased my ISO as well. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, so here is the raw file of that image, right? And the ISO was 6400. So I probably wouldn't have wanted to increase that anymore, to be fair. So I'm shooting at 400 mil, 6400 ISO. I think part of the thing is precise focusing, and part of it is movement blur here. So from 350th of a second, I could have maybe tried to get up nearer to 600th of a second, probably. And then that would have taken my f-stop down, which would have thrown the cow more out of focus in terms of depth of field, but at least something would have been sharp. Oh dear. But no, I had so much fun that it just really doesn't matter, you know. And sometimes that's the thing. When you get back and your photos are disappointing, you have to go back to the memory of how you felt when you were taking them and just be grateful for that, if you know what I mean. But I was also really connecting with, like, when you look into the eyes of these animals in the photos, it's really quite, I don't know, moving. Just, you know, if you could read their minds. It's weird because it's, I don't know, it's like, I feel like in one of these photos, you just probably think I'm mad, but like when I just looked into the eyes of this cow, it's like, maybe it's saying, I accept my fate, do you accept yours?